Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Thank you for the reminder because I was just a talking, just a talking. So, peace and blessings to everybody. Come on into the stream, get comfy. We're going to go through some things today, right? If nothing else, I want to bring some awareness or more awareness as to what we are facing, possibly in the near future, and some of these events are actually taking place right as we speak, depending on where you are and what city you're in. We have got to discuss this because, things are in motion, and I don't know how seriously people are taking this entire situation with our immigration. Our immigration is out of control. Our illegal immigration is a hot mess. Okay, it's a hot mess, and we need to be taking this situation very seriously. We're going to go over some clips in different sanctuary cities and different areas where there is a historical perspective um, from the biggest gang, Venezuelan gang that's here, correct? So we're going to get off into it. So without further ado, salute to my chat. We got Oliver Green Apartments in the building, BGPO, peace and blessings. We got Phoenix Rising, always good to see you. Hey, Monique, peace and blessings to everybody. So I want to start off with there's several little video clips because like I said, this is a broad this is covering a lot of territory and a lot of US soil at this time, and it's a serious threat to not just our democracy but to our personal communities. I feel and I believe that people of color, their Black people specifically speaking, are their communities, our communities are being targeted and they're being centralized for the gang activity, for the infiltration, and ultimately, in my opinion, also for the replacement in the government and the administration's playbook. In my opinion, this is all by design. This is all planned. And we're going to cover some things why, as far as the police departments being told to stand down. You've got city officials and government officials that are not responding or not, holding these illegal immigrants accountable for any of the crimes that they're committing, have been committing. There's no consequence. So while they're steady pouring into this country, Crime rates are going up. They're exploding in some areas. These people are migrating to a city near you. Don't get it twisted. It is definitely happening. And so we just need to know. We need to know. So without further ado, let us.
Well, you know, basically what you just said right there, this is one of the NYPD's biggest challenges right now. Now, the NYPD expects the migrant Venezuelan gang crimes to actually get worse in the city before it gets better. They're waving the guns around.
Correct.
Waving guns and flashing gang signs on this video. The NYPD says these are suspected members of the ruthless Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which has been infiltrating the U.S. for the last 2 years. NYPD Assistant Chief of Detectives Jason Savino telling me it is believed this video was made while the gang members were in Ecuador, and its purpose is to recruit new members.
Then, when you fast forward, you see the same individuals where? In Times Square.
So they started out in Ecuador, which means they had some type of notice or advance notice that they were going to be migrating here, and specifically to recruit newer members in order to strengthen and broaden their gang base, right? So they were pretty aware enough and prepared enough to actually videotape and circulate through social media that guess what? This is what we're doing. This is what we plan on doing, and we're coming. Let's continue.
That's our concern.
The NYPD says Tren de Aragua has been making it over the border with the migrant influx and is getting established in New York.
What we do see is they are trying to grow.
The gang has gone from petty crimes like shoplifting and stealing cell phones and jewelry to all-out shootouts in the streets. Alleged gang member Bernardo Raul Mata recently confessing to police that gang members are being instructed to shoot police officers. Mata is charged with shooting 2 officers after they stopped him for riding a moped the wrong way on a one-way street in.
So this little fella, and I call him little because he look knee-high to a duck right now, okay? Look like he barely understand what his manhood is capable of. Still young in the mind, still impressionable. These are the type and age groups that they are looking for. They're looking for young, vulnerable, impressionable, physically capable, and moldable. And a lot of the people in this generation, and I'm not centralizing that just to out of the country, I'm also including the United States, that these children, a lot of them are soulless. They don't really feel anything. And those are the easiest ones, in my opinion, to recruit. He got pulled over or stopped for a moped violation. And they have gotten a green light to go toe-to-toe and to shoot at police officers. I don't know if that's registering how deep that can go and how serious this sounds and is, but we are in a situation where we have people coming into this country that don't respect nor fear nor have any consideration for anyone, much less law enforcement. Let's continue.
Queens. In court, an assistant district attorney revealing what Mata told investigators about the gang.
Tren de Aragua members are smuggling firearms into city shelters inside food delivery packages. That way they don't have to go through the metal detector.
Guns being smuggled into migrant shelters in food delivery packages that are not being screened. The gang violence is escalating, and now drugs are coming into the picture.
We're just starting to see a drug called Tusi, which is a pink cocaine type substance.
It seems like this is a huge challenge.
It's as big of a challenge as we faced.
On top of the fact that they are putting them in food containers. Okay, that's how they've been getting them in, the drugs, or at least one of the methods that they're willing to tell us. So I just wanted to insert that. I kind of think they're going to say that, but I wanted to go ahead and reiterate that as well.
NYPD has faced difficult challenges in the past and is determined to win this fight to keep New Yorkers safe.
We're having success. We're taking down networks of individuals. We're up to the task and we'll accomplish it.
Now, today I also reached out to City Hall about security and metal detectors at the city-run migrant shelters, and I asked them why food containers are not being screened for possible weapons or drugs. Now, I was told those items are supposed to be screened every single time. And now the city is now retraining security personnel at all city-run migrant shelters.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. The fact of the matter is that they're talking about retraining. Salute to everybody coming into the chat. Much love, peace, and blessings to y'all. Come on in, and tap that like button if you haven't already. I appreciate y'all. So there's one of the biggest ways that is being told to us at this current time is that these drugs are being funneled through or smuggled in through food containers. So it was stated that that was part of the search. They were supposed to search those initially, and that has always been in place. They just haven't, I guess, enforced it, and nobody really cares enough to do so. And of course, any vulnerable spot that they find a method of entry in, a port of entry, they're going to utilize that. Just like coming into this country, they're going to sniff out the weaknesses that they are going to come in. And it is a big deal to them to come here because they know time is possibly limited at the very least with this election. So they got to get it in where they can fit it in, right? So, okay, we're going to move right on to the next one. I've got a lot of little clips that I want to, because like I said, this covers ground. This is not just centralized in one area. There's a lot of information out here. Their reach is wide, it is far, and it is like super detrimental at an exponential rate, especially when we are living in an environment where police officers and law enforcement seem to, for the most part, in my opinion, once again, protect and serve the citizens and the natives of this land as second-class citizens, as a second-tier priority, or third or fourth, depends on who you're talking to. So let's this video here, I want to give some context. And this gentleman he sounds as if he is a native of at least the region of Venezuela, to the point where he knows a lot about the intricate details, the origin of the gangs, the rules and the laws that are currently in place in Venezuela, their reach in Venezuela, and if we can find some type of historical context, then we can know what at least to expect here without it, without learning about these things way after the fact. When you want to know where you're going, you gotta know where you're coming from. So this is no different.
The top local stories here in Chicago continues to be the migrant crisis. We've had, I wouldn't say it's an outbreak, but several cases of measles.
I know the volume is we're going to start that over. I know the volume is a little low.
Putting it on lockdown because of that, because
bear with me, and I'll try my best to
and it's among kids. But a lot of the crimes that have been going on, I would not say that the migrants have gone on like in any type of extraordinary crime spree. It's like beyond normal Chicago standards, but
Let's try that one more time. Okay.
So you guys already know, one of the top local stories here in Chicago continues to be the migrant crisis. We've had, I wouldn't say it's an outbreak, but several cases of measles over at the Pilsen shelter, and woken the migrants up at 1 a.m. the other day, putting it on lockdown because of that, because some of the people coming across are not vaccinated, and it's among kids. But a lot of the crimes that have been going on, I would not say that the migrants have gone on like in any type of extraordinary crime spree. It's like beyond normal Chicago standards, but people are getting arrested and doing like the typical street crime. But one question that people have been having is about the presence of a gang that originated in Venezuela called Tren de Aragua, which is actually it's an international gang now. It's in several countries, especially a lot of the neighboring Latin American countries like Chile and Peru. So people were asking for more information on this gang.
So what he's saying is basically one of the biggest threats of the largest, the one of the largest and most powerful gang in and from Venezuela has been the Tren de Aragua, right, gang. So they are, he's going to really he educated me on exactly what their niche is as far as gang activity. You have some gangs that focus strictly and primarily on the drug trade. You have some that do on the human trafficking side. You have some that focus just in on crime and theft. You have some that are just outright murderers, and they don't really have a desired outcome outside of just wanting to see death. So there are different traits for different gangs. and different groups. And he is getting ready to educate us and inform us on exactly what this particular large group. Now, mind you, some may not be aware that Venezuela is not accepting hardly any of their people back once they cross onto this soil, which has found it very difficult and very complicated on deporting anyone based off of the severity of crimes that they commit. Hell, we can't even get these people to go to court dates because they're illegal. So they're not coming in. We don't know who they are. How can you hold someone accountable that you have no idea who they are and what they have to bring to the table, right? And what their purpose is, what their agenda is. But it's dangerous when you have them coming from a country or their native land that they are not welcome back at. That is alarming to me. And it also just, the question why always goes back and reverts me as to asking, why is this government allowing this? I think by this point, the writing is on the wall to a large degree. However, there's a lot of people that their eyes are wide shut. They try and they don't have any desire to learn what the truth is. They want to keep, when they say ignorance is bliss, that is super, super true. So y'all, let's continue. Welcome to the chat. Salute to the chat. Come on in. Come on in.
It's kind of an interesting gang, man, because their main hustle is not the same type of hustles that Chicago gangs have. It's really human trafficking. With the migrant, with the influx of Venezuelan migrants, there's a ton of money to be made in just trafficking people, and they've been heavily involved in trafficking women. The base of the gang is actually a prison back in Venezuela, and Aragua is the name of a state in Venezuela, but they're present in the other states of Venezuela as well.
So he just said that the base and the origin of this gang is from prison. I just wanted to, make sure y'all heard that, and that Aragua is I think he said a state. So the prison in the state of Aragua, Venezuela, is the origin of this particular gang. Let's go.
Current leader is a guy who goes by the street name Nino Guerrero, and he currently, I think, is still locked up. Last I heard, I don't think he's been free. He's still incarcerated there, and there's been a lot of problems with them especially in Peru. Because what was happening was, there was like some type of a physical confrontation between Venezuelan migrants to Peru and the local Peruvians. For some reason, the Tren de Aragua had a particular problem with Peruvian cab drivers because they were threatening to kill like all the Peruvian cab drivers if Peruvians continued with what they referred to as xenophobia. Now, xenophobia is like, it's not really racism, but it's like discrimination against immigrants or against foreigners. And Tren de Aragua was, alleging that the Peruvians were basically...
So he's saying that, okay, you've got Chile and Peru that are neighbored countries to Venezuela, and you have the Venezuelans going over to Peru and threatening to kill or unalive all of the cab drivers, the Peruvian cab drivers, just because they don't want to see eye to eye with the Venezuelans as a nationality. So I bring that point to light because this is giving a good barometer, in my opinion, on how soulless and how witted these people are. No matter what their methods, it starts with the inside. And if you are walking around and you have no barometer, you have no moral compass, you don't believe in good, you don't believe in God, you don't have anything to balance out your life, you don't value life, you don't value the people around you in this life, that's a dangerous person. In this country, we tend to say the most dangerous person is one that doesn't have anything to lose. So I guess if Miss Yo was in the house, she would say that's what she would sum it up as. Oh, she look, welcome to the chat. Salute to the chat. I see you. I must have talked you up, Laverne. Welcome. All right, so let's continue, y'all.
Biased towards the Venezuelans, and they were just going to start killing like Peruvian cab drivers. So it's a lot of kind of strange stuff like that, and there's been a lot of them in Chile. But with hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans coming into the United States, now they've been popping up on the streets of Chicago. The former police chief, Gary McCarthy, was estimating there's at least 100 of them here, although how he came up with that number, I don't know. But they haven't been involved in anything really big here in Chicago yet that we know of, like no murders or mass shootings or anything like that. But a few guys have been getting arrested here and there that are members of this gang. But human trafficking is like their main thing, and this is similar to the mob now in Europe. Smuggling of immigrants is really like a more lucrative hustle now than dope. I know in Italy and Greece too, that's like the main hustle, because I mean you're charging thousands of dollars per person, and you can bring across hundreds of these people per day. It's an extremely lucrative hustle.
Okay, let's not slide past that. Now you're talking about drugs, right? And that requires time. That requires a lot more time than snatching somebody and putting them in a method of transportation to where that one person yields thousands of dollars. Y'all better be checking for your kids. You better be knowing where your children at, where your nieces and nephews are. Anybody that's young, male and female, y'all better be in your kids' business, okay? And if you're not, and something happens to your child and your child goes missing, hold yourself responsible. I'm not saying there aren't extenuating circumstances, but being a parent in these times that we living in, it requires for you to know where your child is. If you have shared location and you are a member of the iPhone community, there are no excuses. I know there are apps on Galaxy and all of that. My point being is that there are no excuses for you not to be in the loop and communicating where your family members are. The older they become, the little less that you have to be concerned and worry so much about. But them babies, listen, if you can homeschool these kids, you see what just happened a couple of days ago with that demon unaliving all those children and then sending others to the hospital. Again, no regard of life. Y'all, this is what we are living amongst currently. Stay prayed up. Y'all better get it together. You better exercise your second right amendment. Go to the range. Make sure you got enough ammo and clips. I said it. It is my opinion. Know where your kids are. And with that being said, we're going to get back to the content.
So that's what Trinidad was doing, man. And the crazy thing is their uniforms or their colors or whatever, the stuff that they wear Chicago Bulls gear. And in Georgia, there was actually a case where one of the guys from Trinidad, his brother, I think, was arrested. And they proved that he was a member of the gang by the fact that he was like wearing Chicago Bulls stuff. And he had like, I think, pictures of himself like throwing up the gang sign. But yeah, Chicago Bulls, I mean, this is tremendously ironic. That is their symbol, like the Chicago Bull. I mean, how are you going to, like in Chicago itself, in the city of Chicago itself, how is anyone going to pick that out from just amongst the normal?
That part. These people are embracing our culture and representing themselves in disguise through our culture in order to get close enough to get their desired outcomes, whether it's housing, whether it's next to your children, whether it's getting the resources and the benefits, whether it's stealing, whether it's inhabiting legally or illegally what you have. They're coming to take it, in my opinion. We better be aware. You better keep your head on the swivel and defend yourself.
You know, crowd of Chicagoans who all wear, Chicago Bulls gear anyway, just because this is Chicago and it's the home team. Like in Venezuela, somebody's rocking Chicago Bulls gear. Okay, he's Trinidad. Well, over here, everybody's wearing that stuff. So, I mean, use that as any type of symbol here in Chicago. But, that's like having a New York Knicks gear be a gang symbol in New York itself. They've got about 5,000 members. The prison that's their headquarters is called Tocoron. And the gangs that they're clicked up with MS-13. And they're also clicked up with some Brazilian gang called Primeiro Comando de Capital, which...
So they're merging. And there's comrades. They're accumulating comrades, which means people getting with like-minded people that end up going for the same desired outcome, right? So they started out with a base, as he stated, with 5,000 members. Can you imagine 5,000 soulless people having the same objective in mind and willing to do what they need to do in order to achieve that objective. This is the real shit that we are dealing with and possibly facing. And if it's not in your neighborhood, it could very well be coming. And if we re-elect the same political party into another administration, I am saying it. This is just a preview of what we are to face to come in the near future. Let's go.
I don't know too much about that gang, but you guys know about MS-13. So Tren de Aragua is allies with MS-13. They're not ops with them. So how that'll work out here in the U.S., because we've been having a lot of issues here in the U.S. with MS-13. How that'll work out, we'll have to see. But in Venezuela, the other places where they're active are Carabobo, Sucre, Bolivar, Guarico, Trujillo, and Miranda. So those other states. But Aragua is still their home state. So Eric Adams in New York City, he was saying that they were going to have to change the sanctuary city laws. He was saying, if you commit a felony, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported. So I guess before.
So the real of it is that they are out here attacking and shooting police officers and are not getting any dire consequences, any consequences that will stop them in their tracks from doing so. These people don't care, and neither does our current administration and our government. The fact that we are still dealing with open borders, and we have over 11 million since 2021 illegal immigrants in this country. I'm going to say illegal, so we can, for the sake of argument, say immigrants. Maybe not all of them are illegal, but I'm going to assume that a majority of them are, because if you allow one, you're going to allow a million. In my opinion, this has been going on for too long for this to be an accident, in my opinion. Let's go.
That, the law was that they still had to keep you here. But now, at least in New York, they're going to try to deport you if you commit any type of felony, just to be able to come back. Tren de Aragua. And whether they're going to do that in Chicago, has yet to be seen. But they've arrested some of these guys from Tren de Aragua, and as far as I know, they have not been deported. Although I don't know, maybe that's happened since I read the news articles about it. But I haven't heard of any deportations for Tren de Aragua members. But I don't know. Most of the crimes that the Venezuelans have been committing here are
he said he hasn't heard of any. Not sure if there have been any deportations, but he hasn't heard of any. So I know that I started checking out the news media back in, I want to say, July or August of 2023, where it had started in New York. And you have people, some of the podcasters and content creators signaling the alarm and saying, look, this is where it's starting. This is what we're dealing with. And this is what is being permitted. And they've been really good about, especially certain ones, really consistent about keeping us in the loop, because as we know, New York and California tend to be trend-setting states. So stuff that pops off in either one of those states and it passes and it gets to be a real thing, chances are it's not going to be where it ends. So I just wanted to definitely add my commentary to what he just stated, as far as saying, and as knowledgeable and as much information as he has about this game, for him to say that I don't know if anybody's been deported with everything that they're coming over here with the intentions of doing. I ain't heard of none of that. That has to be, in my opinion, that has to be alarming for me. I don't know about anybody else, but let's continue.
Real big stuff. I haven't really seen them doing too many murders or anything like that. Really any murders that I can think of. And as far as like getting into wars with the Chicago street gangs, that's really what's like the elephant in the room here, because Chicago is like the gang capital of the U.S. We have like the most, as far as like the sheer number of gang members. And, the space where it is. I know LA has a lot of gang members. I mean, every big city in America has gang members, but Chicago is like, basically the motherland of gangbanging, especially in the Midwest. So
that's key. That's key what he said, because we're going to go to the next video clip once. We're going to wrap this up here in a second. But the next one, there's going to be an individual that states, a resident from Chicago, that is very aware that the humbug is that, these Venezuelan people are on their way to your hood. And there are like, yeah, you might want to rethink that, because if you think we're gonna be, manipulated and taken over as easy as you were able to uh, achieve that goal in Aurora, Colorado, you got another thing coming. But again, another sanctuary city. So let's continue. We're almost done with this one, and then we're gonna go to that little clip where the brother is saying, yeah, y'all might want to rethink coming here. Okay.
At some point or another, most ethnic groups here form gangs and then go to war with the existing gangs. So, what will happen with Tren de Aragua, who they're going to get into it with, who they're going to click up with, that'll be very interesting to see, man. But nothing like that has happened yet. I mean, the neighborhoods where the Venezuelans are being placed, some of these are like black neighborhoods. They're being placed on like the south and west side in black areas.
I haven't heard of any other neighborhoods other than black. You don't hear the Jew. I'm sorry, Lord have mercy, God forgive me. You haven't heard of all of these other ethnic groups complaining, unless it's just not making the media, which is very possible, because they're going to nip that in the bud before they can even get their feet inside the properties. You got these sanctuary cities where they're just going in and taking people's homes, or they're able to manipulate and to fraudulently get into these people's homes, and then they tear it up, don't have no value of it, set it on fire, blow it up, just totally demolish the value of the property. These people don't care, so they coming in to take your stuff. That's where that's listen, I'm hoping that most of us stay in states that support the Second Amendment. One of the reasons I feel like New York is going through all of this as well, and not just New York, but one of the reasons Chicago ain't gonna have that kind of problem that Colorado had is because they exercise their Second Amendments every day in the city of Chicago. It is pretty much a requirement, and depending on what zip code you live in, as a mere matter of survival. And that is my opinion, as most of my commentary is based off of the information that I am receiving on this topic. These gangs are coming over here. What other country do you know that you can go from the United States of America, arm yourselves, force people out of their homes, and on top of that, what country do you know where you will be given resources to the magnitude that this government is giving these immigrants? Over $13,000 in cash, SNAP food benefits, and then another $4,400 minimum in cash. Man, if the writing ain't on the wall, I don't feel sorry for nobody that votes against our best interests. I'll put it that way. Let's continue.
Where, a lot of these Venezuelans, they don't even speak English, like hardly at all. Even some of the migrants like selling candy in the downtown area, they'll be shouting like chocolates, chicles, and they're advertising this in Spanish, because they speak like zero English. So I don't know whether they'll get into it with any of the black gangs in those neighborhoods, but those are more like neighborhood sets. In the Hispanic communities, like in Pilsen, that's an area where they can obviously communicate with the local population, and I've seen some of that going on as far as like Mexicans and other people communicating with them. But as far as them getting into it with like the Kings or the SDs or the MLDs or any of them, I haven't seen too much of that yet, because I haven't really seen Tren de Aragua try to get down on anybody like that in the streets yet, or claim a turf over here. Although, the immediate area around those shelters, the migrants are out there every time I've been past there. That's like in the Pilsen area, they're always outside, man. Like the Venezuelan guys are always out there on the corner. They got like the candy for sale and stuff out in front of their shelter building. So, yeah, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
Okay, so I think, him giving us that historical perspective. So just to recap, these people are more focused and centralized in human trafficking than they are the drug trade or any other, trades that gangs do, I guess. I don't know. And that they are not being, it's not widespread information on if these people are being deported once they commit crimes. And we're going to do a couple of little video clips that pretty much give the explanation as to in New York how they're handling offenders and repeat offenders. And you're talking about a straight slap in the face. Y'all, sometimes I know that somebody has to do the dirty work and to bring out this information, but sometimes I just, once it comes and it parts from my lips, it's like I get all enraged all over again because they don't care. We have to care about ourselves and one another. That's the only way. Why do you think that this system that we're in, this matrix that, in my opinion, that we are in, they spend so much time, energy, resources, money, and psychology on keeping everybody divided? Which, case in point, the immigration situation. They're bringing them into the Black neighborhoods. That's where they're directing them. Where do you think the tension is going to be? Like I said, I don't hear any humbug of other cultures that also have hate crime bills, that have protections from this land, that people that have built this land and our ancestors have built this land have not been recompensed at all. As a matter of fact, every turn and every opportunity that is given, we are reminded as to how little we matter on this soil, no matter what contributions we've made. So I want to share this brother here. And I'm going to let this play without,
this is the
hold on,
warning.
jumping the gun. And just watch his expressions and just listen to what he's saying. So in my opinion, he's very careful and very within the law, but he's also getting his message across. So I found this to be play worthy. So let's go ahead and start this off. And this is a brother in Chicago responding to the Venezuelan gang, saying that Chicago is next in line for them to come and try to do what they did in Aurora, Colorado. Oh, I got some greens in the chat. Thank you for being members. I appreciate y'all. I know some of them were gifted, and Andre W actually was the one that benefited everybody on the gifted. So salute to Andre W. Let's go, y'all.
If you ain't on no bullshit, stay neutral. Somebody please translate. Stay neutral. If you know somebody that's in your building on bullshit, don't let them run in that building, and don't let nobody see them run in that building. Because once word get out that that's the building that they in, they gonna chop that bitch down. Whatever building, the abandoned building y'all occupying and all that shit, yeah, you better get your food and just stay in the house. Because they come out doing some bullshit, y'all gonna regret that. You're gonna really regret that. So, I don't speak Spanish, so somebody need to translate. I hope they got TikTok that translate, I guess. They can kind of make me seem like I'm speaking Spanish. But anyway, take this like a grain of salt if you like. But this ain't Colorado. This ain't Utah. This ain't none of them places. This is just like where you from. The only difference is y'all use a lot of handgun, old revolvers, and machetes and shit. We got switches.
Ooh. Did y'all see the way he said that?
Revolvers and machetes and shit. We got switches. We got switches. If you're not familiar with what a switch is, we will show you. We don't really be with all the telling and shit. But we will definitely show you what a switch is. So, again, somebody translate. Yeah. Make this known. This ain't like Colorado. I'm just
So, when it comes to this soil and what we have invested, this brother, and probably he is speaking for many others that have the same mindset as he does, that they're not playing no games. Y'all better rethink this coming year. With all of this foolishness, this is not going to go down the way you think it's going to go down. And like I said, that Second Amendment, boy, if you living in a city or a state where the Second Amendment is supported, and or if it's available for you to be able to defend yourself, if then that's where we are with that. So I want to, it's in my spirit, and I want to play that again. If y'all don't mind, just bear with me, because words matter, but there's something about him where he doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to yell. He's not super disrespectful. He is matter of fact, and he is saying this is what unequivocally will happen if you come here with the foolishness. So I think it's worthy enough to play it one more time. Let's go.
this is the warning. If you ain't on no bullshit, stay neutral. Somebody please translate. Stay neutral. If you know somebody that's in your building on bullshit, don't let them run in that building, and don't let nobody see them run in that building. Because once word get out that that's the building that they in, they gonna chop that bitch down. Whatever building, the abandoned building y'all occupying and all that shit, yeah, you better get your food and just stay in the house. Because they come out doing some bullshit, y'all gonna regret that. You're gonna really regret that. So, I don't speak Spanish, so somebody need to translate. I hope they got TikTok that translate, I guess. They can kind of make me seem like I'm speaking Spanish. But anyway, take this like a grain of salt if you like. But this ain't Colorado. This ain't Utah. This ain't none of them places. This is just like where you from. The only difference is y'all use a lot of handgun, old revolvers, and machetes and shit. We got switches. If you're not familiar with what a switch is, we will show you. We don't really be with all the telling and shit. But we will definitely show you what a switch is. So, again, somebody translate. Yeah. Make this known. This ain't like Colorado. I'm just saying.
So, listen, we're gonna go ahead and pivot to New York real quick. And this young man, or this gentleman, I should say, he definitely he posts daily, and he's very influential and very a wealth of great information when it comes to how everything is moving in New York. Everything. So without
Abiding.
Let's go.
Happening in New York and Chicago and Denver and other cities like this is because these gang members understand, according to critics, that they can get away with a lot more in parts of the country where laws are designed to protect them. For example, in New York, it's against the law for police to share the immigration status of someone they arrest with the federal government. And part of the reason gang members operate with such brazenness here is because even if the NYPD arrests them and federal immigration finds out, our police are not allowed to hold that individual until the government can come get them, which means immigration enforcement has to make their own arrest on their own time with zero help from our city. And that brings us to the real reason why we're now witnessing gang activity in this country that we
yeah, we're gonna hear that one more time. So what he's saying is that the departments aren't working together. So immigration, ICE, police department, New York, NYPD, their government officials, everybody is working independently, which means there has to be a lack of communication, no tag teaming, no solidarity on them having the same focus on getting rid of the problems, deporting the problems, doing what needs to be done in order for those problems not to stay in our communities on this soil from people that weren't legally invited over here in the first place. And I say legally. Let's go.
The law-abiding. And the reason this is happening in New York and Chicago and Denver and other cities like this is because these gang members understand, according to critics, that they can get away with a lot more in parts of the country where laws are designed to protect them. For example, in New York.
And New York is definitely one of those states. They have squatters' rights. So if you own property in New York, you are at a disadvantage off the rip. There are certain things that people that do not pay their bills, that do not honor their rental agreements and their contracts, they have protections in place. You cannot turn off the electricity in property that is in your name, that you own, that you are renting or leasing out. You have to provide and pay for continuous service for those that are abusing and not paying to stay where they are, right? You have squatters' rights where the courts don't intervene for an amount of time that gives you the opportunity to tear people's stuff up, to grab more people to come in. They have been circumventing the laws in order to fraudulently acquire people's properties that they don't have official leasing agreements with. That is one of the reasons New York is having such a hard time with immigration, period, much less illegal immigration, because the laws in New York protect them, the immigrants, and those that break the law, in my opinion, or that find a way to circumvent the law, have protections in place. And so the people that are following the law,
It's against the law,
and that have the investments are at a disadvantage, and they get no consideration or protections. What's the point in investing? What's the point in living there? There's no way you could pay me to live there, but then it's just my opinion. Let's go.
for police to share the immigration status of someone they arrest with the federal government. And part of the reason gang members operate with such brazenness here is because even if the NYPD arrests them and federal immigration finds out, our police are not allowed to hold that individual until the government can come get them, which means immigration enforcement has to make their own arrest on their own time with zero help from our city. And that brings us to the real reason why we're now witnessing gang activity in this country that we've never seen before. These criminals, once they get here, not only are they protected, they can also take advantage of a very generous social safety net set up for those fleeing extreme poverty. And they take advantage of this generosity to connect not with a path leading to the American dream, which is what most asylum seekers do, but with the criminal underworld.
Where are those buses going? So you have all of these private companies that are in a free-for-all. They can charge the government what they want to charge the government. They're government funded, and they're making millions of dollars and creating generational wealth. Particularly, I'm looking at the bus system, or at the transportation system where the buses are loading up. But my question is even more so than that, where are they transporting these people to? Okay, that doesn't seem, once they started coming over here, it was a point of contention and they got some media coverage. But all of a sudden, we ain't talking about that no more. But they're steady coming into this country, leaps and bounds by the thousands just into New York City alone every single day. Again, they are getting SNAP benefits. They are getting medical and they are getting cash benefits along with, let's just remind one another, California, you got the governor. It's on, I don't know if he signed it or not. I know the deadline is the 9th. Is the 9th for the governor to decide whether he's going to sign that bill that grants illegal, undocumented immigrants $150,000 down payment on a house with 0 interest. I said that right. 0 interest. Ooh, child, let's go.
Now, New York in particular finds itself between a rock and a hard place because while our mayor and police realize the dangers we're now facing because of this gang activity, they're fighting an uphill battle against a legal system that keeps criminals out on the street when they commit minor, non-violent offenses, like engaging in a calm, peaceful shoplifting spree that doesn't hurt anything except the bottom line of a big company, or shut down one of New York's many small, struggling businesses. But critics say we've got another problem because this city and its shelter system are now full of individuals who may not be who they say they are, and may be hiding from a past life as a criminal, or worse, trying to start a new life of crime here in America, which recently happened when gang members took over a building and started a fire that led to 3 law-abiding families losing their homes forever.
So, just to give a little context and preface here, these immigrants occupied a dwelling and they destroyed the place. Not just their place, but the resident on the left and the resident to the right. The residents to the right, excuse me. Let's go.
So, fires in New York City, that's nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, these guys put out about 24,000 of them every single year. But recently, the FDNY encountered a fire that was different from the norm, not because of what caused it, but because of who started it and how they did it.
You can take a look at those 2 split homes right behind me there. You can see the windows are shattered out. There are things on the roof damaged. That is where the fire originated, and it all has to do with what was on the backyard of that property that we're going to give our viewers.
So, before we see the backyard of this place, it's important to understand who was inside this building illegally that started the fire to begin with. And the home in question is located in Marine Park, a very nice residential neighborhood, and it had been abandoned for a very long time, long enough that junkies were able to get inside and had been squatting there. But according to the New York Post, those junkies rented out the home or part of the home to asylum seekers who then moved in and were living there as well. Neighbors interviewed.
So you got squatters that took dominion over the residents that wasn't theirs, and then they brought in immigrants, and I'm sure they benefited financially from doing so. So none of these people have the right to be in this property, right? But that wasn't enough. So they burn it down. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, it was because of negligence. For you to be able to incinerate an entire building, to me, that was negligence. Let's continue.
Said problems had been happening at the home for a while, and an unknown number of people were living inside of it. They claim there were fights started between people living at the property and neighbors nearby. And what you have here is a critical mass of people living inside one particular property, doing things inside of it that are not exactly legal or safe, which is why it burned down.
What was back there was a hoarding of trash that basically acted as an accelerant and kindling for the fire. Now, fire officials on the scene tell us the spark was an extension cord that was charging multiple e-bikes. Now, when that extension cord caught fire, so did the lithium-ion batteries. The flames.
So the backyard of this home, which was valued at $750,000, it was full of stolen e-bikes and trash. Now, from the street, you can see
that's a $750,000 property in New York. Yeah, because ain't nobody gonna be paying that nowhere else. Okay, I digress. This is a $750,000, $750,000 property, and this is what they did to it. And I'm not just speaking on the immigrants. We're talking about the squatters. We're talking about a conglomeration, being in an abandoned property, but it still wasn't theirs. Let's continue.
See a lot of the debris that caught on fire in the back that had kind of been hauled out onto this little side area here. But there are some photos of the backyard online. Look at this. It was basically a big dump right there, ready to catch fire. What a disaster. But what's really sad about this story is that the people in this property that were living there, destroying it, their behavior destroyed both properties on either side of it as well. If you look at the front door of the house to the left, you'll see paperwork from the city that stops people from coming inside as the property was damaged pretty badly. The side of the house is burned and scorched. It's likely totaled, which is a shame. You can tell people were living inside of it because the exterior is well maintained. It looks like the porch has recently updated windows. It looks nice. There's landscaping work out front, but now the roof area has no windows and there's a burned up mattress on top of the building. And whoever was living there, spending money on that property, improving it, now does not have access to it and can't live there. All because
the owner can't inhabit the property. It's probably been condemned. I know it has. It's unsafe. It's burned. And then the property, that's a whole building structure, right? And then the one to the left of it and the one to the right. The fire was so bad, it burned both of those properties down as well. So now the owner can't even go in and assess the damage. Can't live in it, can't inhabitate it, none of that. I know, and it didn't go amiss when he said that there hadn't been tenants in there or had been abandoned for years or a long time. However, it still belonged to somebody, whether it's the bank, whether it had a sole owner, whatever the case is, the people that were in it, that destroyed it, that burned it down, that inhabited, that made it a home, had no right to be there, took no value in it. But what to me is more insult to injury is that none of those people paid the price. They had any consequences. You know who had consequences? The owner of that property. A $750,000 investment gone, providing that they paid their property taxes. Let's go.
our city has a system in place that allows gang members to take over properties and do whatever they want inside of them. But sadly, this story gets even worse.
This is a property, again, that home right in the middle where you can see the burns on the side, that is a problem for the community. And they say it was only a matter of time before this property caused a problem. That's what they say. They were worried about, that they were reporting to every agency they could. And unfortunately, those calls, despite that, this incident still happening here today.
So the fire at this property was so intense, it not only took out the property that was on the left side, but the property on the right side that was attached via a wall, that one was also condemned as well. And there was a family living there that had 3 small kids. And now this family, who'd apparently purchased the home back in 2021, now they've got nowhere to go. And this has people asking, at what point does creating a city that is a sanctuary for criminals with laws that don't punish them something that starts impacting the law abiding? Now, since the
So they done burnt down the houses on each side to where those families don't have anywhere to go. But you provide all of the necessary living elements required to those coming over here that have no investment, that have no experience, no lineage, no time. They don't work here. And if you say something to them about working, they look insulted. And all of this is being done on our taxpayers' dime. We don't get, I remember there used to be a time, and it may have been intermittent over the centuries, but I remember in history there was a time where the citizens at least could vote on statutes of where their tax monies were going. They don't ask us nothing. They tell us what they're going to do, right? They tell us. So now we've got 2 other families, one on each side, displaced with small, at least one of them we know for sure has small children. And where is the help and assistance for them? Like you've given all of these illegal immigrants. And we're going to transition and use one of the senator's words as to why all of this is allowed. So finally, I found something to where I don't have to draw my own conclusion. He made it very clear why they're here. We're almost done with this one, and then we're going to transition to that next video I just spoke on. Let's go.
These neighbors shared an adjacent wall with this property that was turned into a house of horrors. When they were interviewed, they claimed that people were just coming and going from that place at all hours of the night. They suspect that many of the folks entering and leaving were people buying things that were illegal. Plus, they claim that there was always fighting going on here in the way of verbal arguments and shouting matches at all hours of the day. And apparently this year, 18 complaints were filed with 311 for public disturbances. But it gets even worse because before the fire started that took out these 3 properties, police had been called to this place 15 times over the course of 2 weeks. That's
15 times over 2 weeks before they incinerated it. And the ones on either side. 15 times in 2 weeks. So the people that called the police were the citizens, the tax-paying citizens, the ones that resided in the homes on the block. Because of all of the illegal activity, noise, fighting, whatever else has been going on or was going on in this structure. 15 calls in 2 weeks. And we see how well they responded, and that worked out for the same people that were probably calling law enforcement. And because if you call them 15 times in 2 weeks, that means they're not coming out, or they're not listening, or they're not responding in a fashion to eliminate the issue or the problem, in my opinion. Let's go.
Twice a day, and nothing was done to remove these bad actors from a property they did not own. Plus, it reveals that this entire area was being terrorized by whatever was happening inside, yet nothing was being done about it. There were no laws to get these people out, and the only way they ended up leaving was when the place caught fire because of the...
So that tells you right there. That's the only way they were going to be taken out or removed from the property, as if it was uninhabitable. That's wild.
Dangerous conditions inside of it. But sadly, the tragic tale that we have at this property isn't the only one that's taken place in New York recently. And many observers say that the rising gang violence that started here first should have been a warning to the rest of the country as to what was coming. 2 cities and towns that have laws that seem deliberately designed to protect bad actors and help them live lives of crime. The law-abiding.
Lives of crime. Lives of crime. Listen, let's
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
So he just confirmed that. So he said 11 million undocumented. Imagine how the people that had to go through due process to get into this country and become citizens, the sacrifice, the toil, having to jump through all of the hoops, meet all of the requirements. This is not an overnight process, or it hasn't been up until this point. For people that look just like them, that are coming into this country and being handed their taxpayers' money at this point. Because now if you become a natural U.S. citizen, you're going to be treated and have the same expectations as a natural born citizen. Imagine how they feel with having to go through all of the things that they had to endure and wait all of that time and go to all of these different appointments, fill out all of this different paperwork, make sure that they stay gainfully employed for a certain amount of time to qualify, possibly marry into the status of becoming a citizen. That's a sacrifice for a lot of them. And we got illegals coming over here, tearing up everything, taking things that don't belong to them with no support to enforce and uphold the law for the citizens and the real bag in this country, which are the taxpayers. I want to play this one more time because that went fast.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Where they going? Where they going? Who's going to take care of these people? Because they didn't come over here to work. At least that's not what we're being shown. When they initially come over here, they're being handed everything that everybody else has to work for. You think it's going to work that after a year or after election time, you go back and you tell these people, okay, it's time for you to work. It's time for you to do what you need to do. Now you're going to have some level of accountability when they come into this country and they have none. None. Talk about a slap in the face. You got the police being called and they are told to stand down. If they make it to court, it's like a revolving door. As soon as they go in, they go back out to reoffend, to do exactly what they did to get into the courthouse, laughing all the way through the process. And in my opinion, a lot of that comes from knowing what the expectation was when they got here. You can't tell me there haven't been conversations or inside knowledge. Why else would that kind of influx of people willing to go through every means of getting here, leaving, a lot of them left their families. They were told something. And they were told something we weren't told.
Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
Young America, Kamala Harris thinks you're too stupid to realize she's to blame for our record inflation.
What else do we know about this population? They are stupid.
Too stupid to realize groceries cost 26% more.
The cost of eggs keeps rising.
Kamala took $2 gas and made it $6.
They are stupid.
Too stupid to notice new home costs increased by 46%. Electricity, 25%. Cars, 33%. And healthcare, over 18%.
Bidenomics is working.
Right for America is responsible.
Not my words, but it is my experience. Because just like every last one of y'all up in this chat, the ones watching the replay, the ones that's sitting here long enough to get to this point, it's affecting every last one of us. We are all feeling the effects of the decisions of this administration. And the most we get as Black people is a video clip of her shaking her hips at a barbecue, looked like they were full of frat brothers, in my opinion. To do what? What is that going to do to improve and to elevate our way of living in this country? Y'all,
Some
hold on a second.
Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
some
She told us. She's in office. Look at what is going on around us that we can't ignore. If you live in a bubble, you still are a consumer. And you still are going to realize that what you get for what you spend looks nothing like it did 3 years ago. While she give that phony ass laugh and that fake ass smile as a smokescreen of sincerity. I'm looking at behavior. I don't give a damn about how pretty your smile is. If it ain't affecting my bottom line, I'm not interested. I don't care. What I care about is my children. I care about your children. I care about them having something to wake up and aspire to instead of waking up feeling hopeless because every opportunity that may have been presented to them is being snatched while we're being entertained to death and lied to death. I don't want to hear it. I don't care nothing about no identity politics. I don't care nothing about nothing, like I said, that doesn't affect in a positive fashion me and everything connected to me. Now, I done dropped the link for anybody that may be interested in hitting it. I would love some feedback, some type of contribution. I wasn't able to actually go and pay attention to the chat like I want to or that I usually do because I had so many different focuses in different things that I wanted to bring to light. And I just kind of wanted the flow to go. But I love my chat and I appreciate y'all keeping the conversation going. But hit the link. I wanna talk about it. I'm sorry, I thought I sent it, y'all. This affects everybody. I'm just the messenger that is only able to do so much from my standpoint. But I can sound the alarm and say that this does affect everybody. And this is, in my opinion, an in-house agenda. And we're all collateral damage. Everybody is supposed to be pitted against one another. And it's hard not to feel some type of way. But that just cements for me the intent. Because who in the world needs $13,000 a month in food SNAP benefits? Who in the world? Now we could use some $4,500 cash. Give me some cash, but I'm saying like to eat, and that's the only thing you can do. How many people is that going to feed? Did you bring a whole tribe, community, 3 generations long, a family over here to where you require $13,000 in SNAP food benefits? Why? Why? Why are they coming to the Black neighborhoods specifically and primarily? And why do all of these other groups have anti-crime hate bills or anti-hate crime bills when you have Black people, they getting unalived? If they don't get it from one direction, they got another 4 directions to look in. We only have a 360 perimeter. So if one don't get you, there's another 3 we got lined up for you. Normally they'll lie to us about what they're going to give us or what they plan on incorporating that will benefit Black people once they get into office. They're not even doing that anymore. we always want to know the why. The why. I know my channel's small, but I still have to be kind of mindful, because what I want to say, I don't know if they're going to like that. But hopefully I have presented and put forth something that some of us were unaware of prior to this, so we can at least be proactive and at the very least be aware that we are not far removed from being personally touched by this. We cannot afford, this is not the time to be sleepwalking. This is not the time to be focusing on traveling and being entertained and vacationing 365. If you will do a vacation or a decompression period, get it in. But get it in with the mindset that we got work to do. I'm not going to go down the road this live about the power of unity, because I think we're kind of past that. And I think what it's going to take is some real live shit to jump off before all of this pettiness gets put to the side. I don't think that applies to everybody, but I'm speaking to a majority. All right, so listen, no one wants to hit the link. That's perfectly fine. I know a lot of people at work, and you know what? It's a lot of information to rehash and to go over. If you're coming in on the replay, tap that like button. I appreciate y'all being here. We do have memberships available. And I just want to say, listen, in closing, I want to say this is not for fear mongering. Everything that's uncomfortable to hear is not intended to instill fear. It's to bring awareness. It is to enlighten us that this is real life for a lot of people. And as time progresses, more people are being touched. I just don't want us to be ill-equipped and caught off guard to the point where you can't say, I ain't see this coming. I was unaware that this was next door. Or I was unaware that this was on my turf. It done hit close to home. Okay? Now, one thing that I will say, we cannot afford to be lazy and to be so distracted that we don't have our basic necessities met for at least 2 months. That should be everybody's primary focus. We are at war. The biggest weapon of this war is attacking our spirituality. But we have to be proactive and we have to do something and not just pray about everything and do nothing. And with that being said, I'm going to go up my chat and say welcome. Thank you for being here to everybody. Salute to the chat. Salute to the chat. Kev's Butterfly. We got No Drama in the building. Sea Child. I appreciate y'all so much. Jenny Velez. We got Sis Laverne. We got Miss Collins. There's Green. Peace and blessings. We got Monique Hill. And I want to say we got Rachel. We got Honey 69. Kevin Ellis is in the building. I so do appreciate y'all. And anybody else that I've missed, I hope everybody has a great day. I appreciate y'all. And with that being said, peace. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.